I'm going to recap 2024 Quick Cut style, so strap in. In January, we had all of the RMR qualifiers for the Copenhagen Major, Blast Spring groups went ahead, EPL and IEM Chengdu qualifiers also happened in January. We found out the best players of 2023, and that Simple didn't make the top 2 for the first time since 2017. We also started the year with Vitality being ranked number 1. Moving to February, the year that never cooled down started to heat up. Katowice starts, and the world introduced to a young protege from literally buttfuck nowhere in Russia, Donk. The man goes absolutely batshit insane, gets the highest rating we've ever seen, and carries Spirit to the Spodek and all the way to the end, taking the trophy and the MVP. The Donk slide is coined. Blade gets a little grumpy at Donk being a bit of a screamer, but it's actually because he's mad he got wrecked by a 17-year-old. The RMRs for Copenhagen begin, Astralis continues their streak of embarrassments, and leads to BlameF getting dropped, and Device decides he wants to IGL. Valve releases the first content drop of 2024, adding in Arms Race along with maps Baggage and Shoots. Only sickos play this game mode, but at least it's finally back. In this update, there's also a new case with the Kukri and the very first Zeus skin. This update also enabled custom sticker placement, which led to some creative crafts. They didn't just add casual stuff here, they also made some big improvements to the pretty awful Pig's Advantage. FM Pone teases Source 2 cache for the first time, giving Puggers a chub. Finally, Simple comes back from his fake retirement to play for Falcons. We finish February with FaZe ranked number 1. In March, Falcons release their RMR vlog, and Boris changes his mouse before games. The Major is now in full swing in Copenhagen, and 9 pandas, with veterans seized, after qualifying fair and square, get fucked by visa issues and are replaced by Gamer Legion. In the quarterfinal between Mouse and G2, something that has never happened before happened. We had our very first storming of the stage. However, a protest against gambling doesn't mean that much when you're also a casino. Anyway, the trophy's knocked over, the wankers are taken away, security's increased, and play on. Na'Vi limp their way to the grand final, and managed to snatch it away from FaZe. Alexi B finally gets his major, and JL gets the MVP. Na'Vi win the major with fewer rounds won than they lost, the first time ever. Australian Heroes Greyhound cease operations after the squad fails to qualify for Copenhagen, but they're instantly picked up by FlyQuest and get the greatest jerseys known to man. Also in March, Jason Lake buys back Complexity, bringing NA's favourite esports org back home. And despite Na'Vi taking the major, FaZe is still number 1 in March. In April, the jump bug that kept getting me fucking killed, and lots of people in the community killed, is patched-ish. FaZe take IEM Chengdu, since China is essentially a home event for them. Brokey says it was a holiday. Carrigan also turned 34 on the day they won, and thankfully he reassured the community retirement is not on the horizon for him. ESL Pro League Season 19 begins, the month-long silly season in Malta. During this time, the number 1 ranked Faceit player in Europe, Wonderful, gets banned. No, not that Wonderful, Wonderful Y. He got caught using SV Cheats bug in Faceit. And then, towards the end of April, another large update. We had the big nade crosshair added, changes to Bob, and left-handed freaks rejoice. Left hand is back, with an animation when switching. One final devastating change was included in this update. Overpass, my GOAT map, was dropped for Dust 2. FaZe wraps up April as number 1 again. May started with the end of EPL Season 19, where Mouse took the trophy, even though Zywoo took the MVP. Eternal Fire won CCT Global Finals against Liquid. Mouse win their second tournament of the month, beating down Donk to win Bet Boom Jacha. The Bad News Eagles, the Kosovoan Dream Team, had their dream come to an end, and the team disbanded. Another update graced our PCs in May, in which mollies were nerfed. Big changes also came to Vertigo, which is essentially polishing shit. A site was altered, with Catwalk being added, and more sightlines from short to CT. This update also brought case rentals, enabling people to use a key to get any skin in a case for a week. And then, for IEM Dallas, Hooksy, the IGL of G2, had to miss the event due to a wedding, and that meant they would need to find a replacement.
What's up, bitch?
Stewie 2K was perfect. Bit of crowd service, not that anything would happen though. Mouse wrapped up as number 1 for May. IEM Dallas continued on into June, and somehow G2 continued to beat who was in front of them, and found themselves in the grand final. They were then able to close it out against Vitality. Stewie 2K's America buff, too strong. Stewie was the only American of all of 2024 to win an S-tier event, and he did it on home soil. On the other side of the globe, the Mongols win Yellow Compass, the first Asian squad to win a Tier 1 tournament since 2010. G2 continue to play roster mania internally, with Taz standing in for Monacy for the first round of Blast Spring, and then officially dropping Nexa and picking up Guatemalan GOAT from M80 Malbs MD. Spirit continues their run of dominance, and Donk picks up yet another MVP after winning Blast Spring. Cadian gets benched on Liquid after a disappointing start to the year with no results. We got another pretty big update to wrap up the first half of the year, with a lot of community maps being added to the game. Thera, Mills, Memento, Assembly, and Pool Day. And ending June, we wrapped up with Spirit ranked number 1. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the video so far. Just jumping in to say only 3.2% of you are subscribed, so if you want to see more content like this in 2025, click that button. Cheers, back to the video. In July, G2 wrap up their little roster mania with Hooksy officially getting axed. Sorry you had to go to a wedding bro, but we learned we don't need you. And they picked up Nepotism Hire Snacks, Taz handing out jobs for the boys. Nitro returns to CS after his holiday in Valorant as the IGL of NRG, and to finish up mid-year roster moves of note, Liquid sells skulls and fills the 2 vacant spots with JKS and unknown Polish Orpa Ultimate. The player summer break came to an end, and everyone headed to Saudi for the Sports Washing Cup. Na'Vi came away with the win, proving all the haters wrong and that the major wasn't a fluke. They can continue to deliver. Immediately after Saudi, the Sky Esports Championship in India begun, the first high tier in India for years. Could they prove the community wrong and provide a tournament that was well run and has good production value? No. The event was shambles, terrible setups, and teams even withdrew because of concerns over fairness, as Indian teams were provided with much better PCs. July wrapped up with Na'Vi as number 1. In August, Azza, my GOAT, re-enters the scene as the IGL for Talon, an Australian roster who will be living in EU. Joel, Swedish prospect from BC Game, gets banned for cheating mid-match, and Akros says there was no way there was a false positive. This wasn't even the first time Joel had a controversy. In 2023, he got E6 suspended for match fixing. SnapTap, having been released in Wooting in July, had the community up in arms. Was it cheating? Wasn't it? Initially, TOs say go for it, but later on in August, Valve steps in, which in terms of pro play is infrequent at best, and Valve says no, automation of any kind is not allowed. The changes they added even stopped jump binds from working. A floating glitch is added to the game briefly, and IEM Cologne starts, the second pseudo-major of the year. Saw have an amazing underdog run and make it straight to the semi-finals, but in the end, Vitality come away with the win. A first for ZywOo and Apex after years of trying. ZywOo takes the MVP. OniPixel signs a team to try and get into the Shanghai Major. They get the players to go through the Middle East Open qualifier. Boros lasts 41 days into the breach before being benched. This guy must be the shittest guy to work with. And in August, Na'Vi finishes as number 1. September, Spirit continued to be BetBoom Dutcher merchants, winning it again, and Donk came away with his 5th MVP. ESL Pro League 20 starts, Tessus causes Heroic to lose a map because he forgot to turn SnapTap off, and midway through ESL Pro League 20, the Maniac drama happens. I mean, this came out of nowhere. Mainstay talent Maniac was getting a little handsy with some people at industry events. Numerous women came forward with similar stories. He stepped back from the ESL Pro League 20 broadcast and later on was fired from both Blast and PGL2. We ain't gonna see this freak at events anymore. After all this, Na'Vi wins EPL 20 against Eternal Fire. The Device IGL project gets killed, and Astralis bring in Cadian and drop Bro. Cadian and the Stabby duo is back together. No one saw this coming. Bro gets Brovid, and Astralis get Cadian to stand in for Bro, since he's unfit to play. But despite his Brovid, he was spamming pugs and even did a tryout with Ents. The IGLs all signed an open letter saying the head coach Rugger should play, and they were all absent from the media day in protest. Nico breaks the table after a failed 1v5 against Vitality at the fall final, and then G2 go on to win the whole thing. And Alexi B says go back to CSGO to feel how smooth it was. Forsaken Guitar on Reddit put it to the test, and the difference was pretty staggering. In CSGO, it took 1 frame for the model to react to a headshot, yet in CS2, it takes 27 frames for the model to react. Na'Vi, yet again, is number 1 for September. October started strong with the Armory update. It was essentially a fake operation. There was a limited edition Deagle, charms, and 3 new skin collections. Skin sales were absolutely creaming their pants. Quickly after the release of the Armory update, an exploit to farm stars was found. Valve said no, and anyone who participated in the exploit was hit with a 1-year trade ban. Even CS influencers. FlyQuest win their first trophy at ESL Challenge Atlanta, and the first for Australia in years. Turns out Bleed was poo-poo this whole time since they weren't being paid. Cassard blew the whistle on it after months of trying to contact the CEO. Na'Vi wins IEM Rio, continuing their streak of success, well and truly silencing the haters. Simple is still washed as fuck, and his time in Falcons is not treating him well, losing to Saw, VP, 3D Max, and Eternal Fire. No wins. Drillers drop Salem for Center 1, meaning they no longer had a majority Asian squad at the Asian RMR. Asian tears were flowing, mine included. October ended with Na'Vi still at the top. In November, the rest of the Tier 1 circuit would be in Asia. Firstly, the Blast World Finals in Singapore. Monacy vs Donk was a grand final everyone wanted to see, and Monacy came out with the win, G2 getting their 3rd trophy of the year. The issues brought to light by Alexi B previously get fixed with layout compensation. The game feels smooth as now. Yummy. Forrest announces his official retirement, and Train is added back to the game, and the rain effects look very pretty. In November, the major officially begins. The Asian, American, and both EU RMRs start. At the major, Durex fails to do any market research. Counterstrike players don't have sex. And here, the Driller's story comes to an end, but not before Oni gets a HLTV profile as a coach. During the EU RMRs, Valve and Perfect World decide to change the rules mid-RMR. Initially, placing the elimination stage would be decided by performance at the RMR, but midway through it was changed to use the VRS system to decide placing. This affected Big and 3D Max. The RMRs wrap up at the end of November, and the major is set to begin next. Na'Vi finished November as the number 1 ranked team again. December, now given the season ends with the major, all we have to go is the major itself before the year ends. Na'Vi, the defending champions, failed to reach the playoffs, but other than Na'Vi, the top 8 was stacked. Through the playoff run, Spirit got past Liquid and Mouse to reach the grand final, and FaZe got past Vitality and G2 to make it. In the end, Spirit win the major, but it was an absolute banger. What is it with FaZe and creating just the greatest matches in history? And then we finally got an answer to the first 3-way race for number 1 in years. Donk number 1, Monacy number 2, and Zywoo number 3. And Na'Vi was Team of the Year.